All right, lads. Well, lads, we're back here again. Another week. Myself and Stevie at it again. We're just going to discuss the round 6, or the league results. Obviously, it's getting to the end of the league. So things are kind of heating up on both sides in terms of promotion and relegation. So we'll start off, Stevie. How are you getting on? How's the form?
Yeah, not too bad, Enda. Not too bad. I was just saying to you there off air, I just don't know who's going to beat Mayo this year. It's a runaway train. It's a runaway train, my head.
Just give it out. Give it out now straight away.
I would just fucking hand it out now because it's I know who's going to catch them, you know. No, listen, on a serious note, it was obviously it was a weekend where I don't think there was too many results, you know, too many surprising results. Looking across the board, I think all the results sort of went the way. Maybe the biggest surprise was your mate Andy, maybe at Leitrim, big win against. Big win.
Brilliant.
Look, Carrick and Shannon's a hard place to go down to. You know yourself. I know maybe wasn't for the likes of yourselves and stuff, Mayo, and that'd probably be, you know, down the years you wouldn't have much issues going there. Like, but for a lot of other teams, you know, outside of the top tier, Carrick and Shannon's a tough place because the warm up and stuff. And I remember going down. I remember actually a famous story, 2017. We went down with Carlo actually, and we're chasing promotion, and we had to warm up in the changing rooms. They wouldn't allow us onto the field at 10-2. You know, the backfield was closed. We were given a pitch maybe 15-20 minutes away that we could warm up on. We weren't comfortable with that, you know, and it's just tough, like, you know. And then the pitch was in fucking gutters, and you know, it is a hard place to go to, like, you know, and obviously Leitrim with the home advantage, you know, it was a big win for them. And then it's a big Connacht showdown now this weekend between them and Sligo, you know.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Division 4, Stevie, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of I know, like, they don't get much bloody exposure. I can't believe in terms of RTE, like, it's shocking.
No, listen, Enda, like I've been beating this drum for a long time, and it didn't surprise me. Like, I know Louth have their own agenda with Cantwell's comments about, you know, RD not being fit for purpose. I actually sent a tweet out after the Louth Derry game, complimenting RD. I thought the people were so friendly. It was a fantastic, you know, like, it was nearly like a very, very carnival atmosphere in the ground.
Yeah.
RD. It was so, like, it was for us. I took the two girls up to the match. They loved it. Like, it was a lovely ground with, like, easy parking, easy accessible. It's only 30 minutes from my house here as well, which was handy to get to. You know, the people couldn't have been more welcoming. You know, you could stand wherever you wanted to stand. Okay, it's a small stadium or small stadia, whatever. That's fine. But there's very few county now that you've got a big stadia. But hey, a brilliant little venue. A really, really enjoyable a venue, and that was really fucking appropriate for a real tight National League game, you know. And that day they actually could have beat Derry, but no, it's lazy and stuff. And I know that they talk about the coverage and they can't do this, they can't do that. But like, I remember going back and to even the days of Carlo and stuff, and like, people in Carlo were going mental, didn't get this, didn't get that. Like, and even I'll tell you, even actually a good one. Actually, there was one night, I think in particular, I think Carlo had their longest run in the championship in 2017 in 75 years, and the game against Leitrim had a 52-second highlight clip. Right, their win against Leitrim had a 52-second highlight clip, and 20 seconds that was taken up at the 8 yard. You know, like, it was embarrassing. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing.
So just to get on that, like, we'll get back to Leitrim in a second here, like, but just on about Louth and RTE, like, the Dubs are going to that ground now, and that's a head-to-head, like, in terms of promotion there, isn't it?
No, I think the game's in Croker. The game's in Croker. Yeah, the game's in Croker. Like, yeah, I'm nearly sure. Just double check the fixtures there, but I'm nearly sure the game's in Croker. I'm nearly sure it's because Louth, I think Louth have had 4 home games, if I'm correct in saying that. Like, but no, but listen, look, it is slightly unfair on them, and it's probably lazy too. And the thing about it is, Enda, like, I look, a couple of months ago there was this sort of clientele of you know, pundits that were going to be presenting the Sunday game, and I have no issue with it, right? I'm obviously very outspoken about the product, right? I think we've got a fantastic product in the National League, and I think RTE are selling us short. I think Declan McManus is the head of RTE Sport. You know, he's from South Armagh. I've had a conversation with Declan in the past. I've made my opinions very, very opinionated and very strongly to him on the phone. Particularly the year that I was with Roscommon, I thought there was a real driven agenda against me personally. Now that's obviously not a poor me thing, but I just felt it was lazy lazy punditry, lazy analysis, and and research. Like, for example, simple research, like get in and research the names of players. Like, you're listening to the show there most nights, and I think I think last year there was references to, what do you call him? O'Rourke. O'Rourke was actually calling Kieran McManus for about 2 years. Kieran McManus from Monaghan. Like, in the name of God, like, it's actually humiliating. Like, well, it doesn't surprise me when you see the way his teams are set up. Like, but it's embarrassing. Like, see the likes of that. Saying Kieran McManus, it's just insulting.
One of the best players of the last decade.
Unbelievable. And that's just one wee small example. There's countless other examples, and like, there's no point in beating about the bush. Like Sean Cavan on Sunday night was asked a question. He was asked a question about Louth, about the way, and bumbled an answer of one of their games earlier in the year. They were very competitive against Derry, and that they're moving in the right direction. Like, no, nothing about the fact that they're bringing their goalkeeper out, who's a midfielder for his club. They're bringing him out in the opposition kick out. They're putting a real aggressive press on an opposition kick out now because they know they've got massive size. They're bringing big Grimes out from full forward to create a real probably four big men across the middle where they're actually dominating opposition kickouts. They're playing with a great bit of a defensive structure, like a deep line defensive zonal system. They play RD beautifully well. They play it very narrowly. They're keeping their conceding record, if you look at their scores against, is absolutely immense. And on the plus side as well, a wee bit of stardust with Sam White, brilliant footballers. Some really top quality forwards.
Can you hear me, Stevie?
Yeah, I hear you. Hello? Yeah, perfectly. Yeah.
Yes. But that's even with we say getting back to Division 4 there, Stevie. Like, the promotion is between three teams here, and one of them is playing against Connacht rivalry, as you said. Like, I just will the Sunday game will they show anything that even it'd be no wonder the so-called weaker counties feel robbed, or whatever word you want to hear, trying to promote the game here. Like, it's not. I don't understand it. I know you were in Carlow as well, and you probably found it firsthand what was going on here. But the way forward is for the Sunday game to a segment on the other divisions here. It's not all about just Division 1 here. It's a bit disheartening, to be honest with you.
I think if they had a Sunday night show and where it was Division 1 and 4 covered, and a Monday night show where Division 2 and 3, a lot more people tune in, the exposure that you rightly deserve. But and without being disrespectful to any of the pundits that are on that show, I would say some of them would really struggle to name 10 players in Division 4, and I mean that respectfully. I really think some of the pundits that are on that show would struggle to name 10 players that play in Division 4. And it's remarkable, because at the end of the day, if you're a pundit, if you're going on to that show and you're getting, you're getting well looked after, and you're in the national spotlight, research is absolutely critical. Your preparation is critical. Going back into the squads, to the scoring records, things like that, and just small little things that make some difference to the analysis for someone sitting at home, massive.
Yeah, so it's getting back to, again, you're on about the product there, as in it's exposure. Yeah. It's exposure for the Division 3, 4 teams here. That's what it is.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a prime example, right? In the summer of 2018, when myself and Turlock were over Carlow, and we had a really good summer, right? This is a great example, right? Later that summer, there was a golf classic on in what do you call the golf place? The Mount Wolseley Estate, right, out in Tullow. There was a Carlow Golf Classic. The county had gone that well that summer. They had got a bit of exposure. They had live games on TV against Monaghan and Dublin the year before. They had great exposure against Kildare on Sunday game.
Yeah.
They had a bit of exposure in the news and stuff like that in the build up to the National League final as well, right? But the point I was making, and a lot of people missed this point, Enda, right? Ronan Dempsey, the operations manager, went to buy a Carlow jersey, right, to put onto a mannequin in the foyer of the hotel in the golf day. There wasn't a Carlow jersey. He couldn't buy a Carlow jersey. They were sold out, right? There was more kids at the Cull camps that summer than there ever was, right? There was more kids in Dr. Cullen Park. Dr. Cullen Park had 8,000 people in the stadium for the Tyrone game. My very first game at home with Carlow was 2017. There was about 37 people in the ground when we played London at home, and that's no exaggeration. You could hear a dog barking for the whole way through the game, like, and the echo in the stadium. It was mental. But there was 8,000 people come through the doors, right? People were seeing that exposure, like people within Carlow, because Carlow's a small county. You're competing with rugby, you're competing with soccer. There was more young people wanting to play Gaelic football. That was the whole point that we were trying to do. And it wasn't a whole egotistical thing where we're throwing ourselves into the spotlight. We were happy to do interviews. The way we looked at it was very straightforward. A lot of players would have came to us saying, look, such and such is looking at me on a show. Go do it. Go for it. That can only be good for Carlow football. It can only be good for you, individual, and young fellas looking at that going, I want to be the next such and such or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing. And it's the likes of Keith Byrne there and Leitrim. He should be getting the exposure and the spotlight every week in the Sunday game. They should be highlighting his performances and saying how this lad here in Division 4 is as good at forward as there is in Division 1. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, because
it's like the Division 3 and 4 counties, Stevie. You're effectively playing club football. You're getting the exposure like club. It's like local club football. That's what it is. Like nationally, you don't hear a word about it. You don't. Like there might be more articles in the paper, Stevie, but that's it. Like.
It's wrong. Like I've been watching a lot of Division 3 this year, obviously because Down are in Division 3 and I've been keeping a close eye on Division 3. And like the likes of Darren McGurn there from Fermanagh, outstanding footballer, in a fantastic physique, great condition, looks after himself really well. Young Josh Largo Ellis from Fermanagh as well, who came through their under-20s last year as well, a brilliant footballer. You look at Cavan, Paddy Lynch put on an absolute exhibition 2 weeks ago against Down, scored 1-6. Some brilliant forwards. Obviously, Heslin's well known in Westmeath. We know that, But you go into the other counties as well. Like many people, for example, even Down this year, for example, Pat Haver's playing very, very well for Down. A lot of people wouldn't know who Pat Haver is, at national level. These players deserve a bit of exposure and a bit of airtime, and on the Sunday game. And unfortunately, they're not getting it. Like, for example, there was a lovely story last week, and I think it's worth noting. I got very, very friendly with Paddy McBride a number of years ago. Paddy's a school teacher in Calista First Year in Belfast, right? Paddy came back and played for Antrim last week after a long-standing injury. Right. Unfortunately, his sister had passed away the week before. When Antrim were hammered by Westmeath, his sister Marie, who was a very young girl, or rest her, passed away the week before. Paddy came back the following week, played for Antrim, came off as sub, came back on as sub, and kicked the winning score against Cavan. What a story! What a story! And only for Twitter, we wouldn't have heard that story. Why was the Sunday game not there? Why did the Sunday game not even acknowledge the fact that was a hugely emotional occasion for Paddy and his family? And there are small wee things, and that people in the country don't know about. Like, and that's what sickens me. It's just all about the top table. And I've said this before. You look at the teams that they're getting exposure. They don't actually need that exposure. We watch a game on RTE, and then on a Sunday night we watch the highlights for 20 minutes again. We don't need to do that. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense.
But what is it like? It's not going to. It's money. It's always to do with, is it money? The top counties, obviously, like Division 2, for instance, is getting more exposure this year because of Dublin. Yeah, like the Sunday game, you'd never see. Would you ever see a Division 2 game really on RT or TG4 or TG Car? Should I say? No,
definitely not.
So it's like moving forward. You'd like to see it, Stevie, but sure, look, it's just, I don't know what, I think that's a decent idea what you said there. Division 1 and 4 on the Sunday evening, and then Monday Division 2 and 3 or something like that. I think that'd be brilliant to give especially 3 and 4 division. They deserve exposure. They deserve, as you said there. It's Byrne from Leitrim. He's been kicking the lights out. Even like young manager like Andy Moore coming up, like to give him some exposure. Look, I don't know. We won't stop here, but it'd be nice to see it. But getting back to I suppose you're all about Mayo at the start of the program. Like obviously with the Donegal debacle, we'll touch on that. What do you make of the whole Paddy Carr thing? What's going on? Or
well, I have my own take on it. At the county level is a hard level to be at, right? And I had this conversation, Enda, with a good friend of mine. Big Daniel Ledger, actually former Carlow player. He's managing in Dublin at the minute. He's managing St Sylvester.
Centre back, wouldn't he? Centre back.
Good footballer. Real analytical brain though. Thought about the game in a real analytical way that most players didn't. And you can see very clearly he's going to be a brilliant coach, and he is a brilliant coach. He brought Sylvester's up last year from Division 2 to senior football in Dublin, and they're actually shooting the lights out now in Division 1, which is brilliant to see. But like one thing that Daniel said to me, and he's right, like he says, like, realistically, all this money that goes into the county level, the stress, the strain of it is actually a lot more coaches are probably now happier coaching at club level. See the more Paddy Carr situations that happen and the more Dempsey situations that happen from Limerick, the more it's going to put people off the game. It's going to put people off the game. So
sorry to cut across you, Stevie, but will that open the floodgates now? Because is this a bit unprecedented? Because I'm trying to think of it today. Have we ever witnessed 2 managers gone within the league hasn't even finished? So
never. I said it actually. I said it yesterday in a tweet. Like, Paddy Carr seems a real nice man, and I know from speaking to the Burn lads here and down, he managed Burn here and down to a championship final a number of years ago, and the Burn lads loved him. They thought he's a brilliant manager, real nice man, real gentleman. Paddy Carr understands the game. He's been around the game a long time, and Paddy Carr's he's not an idiot. Like, he's a good football man. He understands the game. He knows what the game's about, right? And this is what sickens me a little bit now, you see, because what you have is, you have the likes of McGuinness coming out doing podcasts. Jim had no reason to do that podcast. No reason to do that podcast. He had no reason to bring it up. He had no reason to heap the pressure on, but he decided he would do it. And he would heap the pressure on once Jim McGuinness comes out, because there's still the thing about Jim is Jim's legacy is going to be untouched, right? Because Jim won an All-Ireland with Donegal in 2012. But in the last 10 years, Jim has done nothing in GA work, right, except sit in the Sky Sports studio. And it's very, very easy to sit and talk about the game. It's much more difficult when you're standing on the sideline in the heat of the battle. Jim had a very loyal group of players as well that he brought through from under 21 level. Great leaders in that group. He had his own brother-in-law on the team. And, there's great loyalty. Now, whether the same group of players now would get that, Jim would get that same loyalty and commitment and drive off them. We don't know, right? Because they're in there. So for him to come out last week and say that put Paddy Carr in a really, really difficult situation, more or less saying, I wanted the job and they wouldn't give it to me.
Yeah.
So it's actually now the ball back, because he's had a standing relationship with my own county. He's been in working and coaching and down now on a regular basis. We know that, right? So what does he do now? Is he happy to float about different counties and do sessions here and there, or is he actually willing to put his head on the line again and step up and take it? Because I'll tell you why. The possibility of him, Lacey, Murphy, for example, and Rory Kavanagh as a management team would probably just reignite. You're talking about a real dream team. See how it unfolds. How that unfolds, or are they going to just sort of say, right, this season's a write-off. We're going to stick with Paddy Bradley and Aidan O'Rourke until the season's over. But who knows? We're probably there's no point probably talking now, Enda, because there's a county board meeting now as we speak. So I'm sure there's plenty of rockets and fireworks just being set off right now in that meeting. God knows what's going to come out of that meeting, whether there could be a disbandment of the county board, a vote of no confidence. Nobody seems to know. But I think it's important to note as well, no matter how bad a county board is or how incompetent people feel a county board is, these are still volunteer officers who are giving up their time, and who else is willing to do it? That's the question. Who else is willing to step up and do it? So that's the question, and a lot of people that are really quick to fire mud at the county board. And listen, I've been critical of our own county board in the past. I'm not going to lie. I have. I've put my head above the parapet. I've said, look, I've said things probably, that probably got me in trouble or whatever. That's fine. But I was speaking passionately about how I felt things were being run, etc. And look, to be honest with you, no one is perfect. No one is perfect. And, obviously Donegal have a lot more going on than we probably know about, But there seems to be, I think there was somebody said this to me, there seems to be his story, their story, and then someone said to me the truth is normally somewhere in between. So yeah. we probably don't know what the actual truth is, but we probably will emerge.
Is it a case where, Stevie, that McGuinness came out and did their article that basically said, look, I was available but no one rang me back, or I was available to work with another management team but no one rang me back, and the whole Lacey and Cameron thing, is it? Look, there's an awful lot of politics that go on with county boards, and you don't know the ins and outs, as we said there. But it seems strange to me where, as you said, Jim's legacy is set. He brought that team from a very low ebb, to All Ireland success. And it just seems very strange to me where, you know, if he was available to do something, obviously he's in with your own county at the moment doing sessions but that seems strange to me. And to me, that seems like a power struggle. Like the county board just don't want that kind of big personality in there again, or we don't know how that relationship. You know, we don't actually. I don't even know. Is it the same county? I doubt it's the same county board officials that were there 10 years ago. Now, personal relationships play an awful big part in these things, as we both know, especially that county board levels. And
I'm not fully sure of who was there.
Can you hear me, Stevie? Your Wi-Fi, I think, is breaking. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, you're just cutting in and out there. Sorry, yeah, you're sounding on.
There seemed to be a wee bit of interference there. No, just to go back to what you said there about the county board officials that were there. Obviously we don't know who was there the guts of 10 years ago, but you see the problem now, and is right. This is the problem in a lot of counties. So every county manager that comes in now, right, needs paid. Okay, even those that are taking. So what you have now, Enda, is you have a county board then who are watching pennies and watching money, you know, and don't want to spend the big bucks. But everyone realizes to keep up with the Joneses, you need the best S&C, you need the best GPS, you know, you need the best for the players, you need your training weekends, etc., etc. So running a county team now is not cheap. It's not cheap. And I think back in 2010, when Jim was doing it, obviously there was a lot of money coming in from America and the likes of that, you know, and London and stuff as well. And I know Roscommon would take a lot of money over from London and stuff. So like there is a lot of counties that can generate fundraising, you know, in a way. But county boards are obviously running the county, so they want control, you know, and they want to know.
You're obviously saying Jim was a bit too expensive for them.
No. But what I'm saying is that county boards want transparency on all the money that's being spent. That's the reality. They want transparency, right? So I think that's one of the reasons behind the whole Lacey thing, that there was a lot of, you know, there was X amount of pounds being spent here, there, and everywhere. But the county board just wanted a bit more transparency and they wanted a bit more control, you know. And I think that's something obviously that is a big issue. And look. It's something like I know from experience. Like we would have done a lot of our own fundraising and stuff like that, even in the days of Coro and stuff like that. We would have done a lot of fundraising because it's such a small county, and still like you couldn't have breathed without the county board. Like I remember going to America with a wife and being sent back Jack from Kevin Madden, great fella, a bar there, and sent back a very, very generous check, you know, towards the Coro training fund. And I sort of said to Turlock, like, can we sort of bury this, you know, keep it away from the county board? Like, and poor Turlock was like, no, you have to let them know, you know. So like you couldn't do anything yourself, you know. We wanted to sort of like push the money towards a training week in the Johnson House or something, but sure, it all had to go through the county board. Like, everything had to, like, do you know what I mean? So a lot of county boards are very.
It has tightened up. Yeah. Well,
it
has tightened up a lot now in the last 15 years. Like, and like that was the bandit stuff was still going on 10 years ago, CB. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
See, no, I was just saying there, the bandit stuff was still going on. Like that transparency, definitely know in the last 6-7 years that things have tightened up in that regard, as in county boards. Everything has to be shown, as you said, transparency there. People can see the accounts at the end of the year. They can't swindle books as much now, and everything has to go through the books. So it'll be interesting. Just go back to the Donegal thing. What will Aidan O'Rourke and Paddy Bradley take it for the remaining time of the year? It's not. Yeah, look, usually it's Mayo in the headlines during the off season. But
after Sunday,
say it again, Stevie.
Yeah, after Sunday, the 4 weeks to the championship after Sunday. You know, 4 weeks to the championship, like, so not a lot of round? Away to down. Away to down.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll be tasty. So Jesus, if Jim, my God, right? I didn't know that. If Jim is obviously, yeah, he's obviously heavily involved in Down now. I don't think Jim will go near that yet.
No, he'll
I
not.
don't think Jim.
No, he'll not a chance. Not a chance.
No.
Not a chance. It'll be coming in. It'll be coming in on a complete clean slate next year.
Yeah, I think so too.
So,
Look, just get back to the Division 1 fixtures and the results. What kind of results stood out for you? Or what's your feeling on it now? Obviously, Mayo is through to the final. Relegation, obviously, Donegal are gone. But the relegation fight is Donegal. There's Monaghan, Armagh.
yeah, big win. Big win for Tyrone. Big win for Tyrone. Bonus. Tyrone are. Jesus, I don't know. We had a discussion about them a few weeks ago. We were sort of maybe writing their obituary a few weeks ago and saying all wasn't well and stuff like that. But I said to you before, they love a cause. They love having something to fight for in Tyrone. It's historically ingrained in them. When their backs are to the wall, they just love that battle. Monaghan probably massive disappointment this year, and have put themselves now in a situation where they're hanging by a thread, like for a team that's probably survived in Division 1 for so long. It probably wasn't going to be sustainable for a county like Monaghan, just particularly from a size perspective, from their resources, their best players probably being at the wrong age now as well. So get into the last day, it's really between Armagh and Monaghan. Will Monaghan beat Mayo? It depends probably what team Mayo play. If Mayo decide to play number 18 to number 35, then, Monaghan obviously have a huge chance, particularly if they're fighting for their lives. Armagh going to Healy Park, I can tell you now for a fact, Armagh and Tyrone despise each other. So Tyrone will love nothing more than to send Armagh in the Division 2. Like, they would love that, So that's going to be a tasty, tasty game in Healy Park this weekend. It'll be spicy.
Tyrone can still get into a league final.
Yes, it's so tight. It's so tight. Like, yeah, it is. It's so tight and it's mad too. Like, but and I think Roscommon will probably beat Donegal, just from the point of view being that there seems to be a bit of clarity around their game plan. Davies got them obviously, dropping off a lot of kickouts, coming back and setting up a good defensive block, and it's making them competitive. It's keeping them in games, and then later on in games they seem to be, obviously, being able to be there coming down the stretch, whereas in previous years maybe didn't really have probably that touching distance.
I do have a bone to pick with that point though, in terms of, I still think even watching the Monaghan Tyrone game, obviously look at Monaghan two red cards, but even like a lot of teams, I agree with you in terms of, look, it's not always possible to press the kick out. But geez, during the free, like, teams are still dropping off, and that is there a way where that's obviously a coaching element. Like, I just feel that you're putting up the white flag. You're just saying we're going to contain this team here. Like this, there has to be, you have to go for it sometimes as well, Stevie. Like, you're looking at, some of the teams, like we'd say Monaghan and Tyrone, like, geez, Monaghan were dropping off every single kick out. And like, I know, we'll say there's a lot of plaudits for Mayo on Twitter against Donegal, but the difference between Mayo, like, is they literally press the kick out so much as they can, and your scoring rate goes up like dramatically if you win that kick out. So I just sometimes it's just, there's a balance to it. Obviously, I get that, but it does drive me nuts to see teams just dropping off all the time. And what does that like? You obviously you're dropping off. You might get a turnover, you might not. It might go dead the other end, and then you have to build up all the way again. Like, yourself, it's set defense. If you win that kick out from the kick out like that, they don't have a set defense, and it's good to go here. Your chances go way up. Like, so it's just, I don't think you can win Northern Ireland playing that way. That's only my personal view. It drives me crazy, to be honest with you.
No, I think the top teams are really good at it, and I think one of the things the top teams are good at as well is they've got a high level of conditioning. Probably they're better conditioned than a lot of the lower league teams. So there's probably a more of a what you would probably call longevity in their conditioning as well. That they've been training at a top level for a longer period of time, and that allows them obviously the physical capabilities to go and press a lot more kickouts. Mayo have always been good. I've always admired Mayo's aggression on the kick out, and I've always admired it. It's not just a recent thing. I think going back, historically Mayo have always been associated with with being aggressive on an opposition press, and they're put it like this: when Dublin were in their plum and everyone was as scared of Cluxton's kickouts, Mayo were the one county that were going after them. They really were, and that was fair play to them, because obviously it was something that I remember from those days that Mayo were the one team that did go after them. But no, I totally agree with you. I think there's a time and a place from open play where you can maybe drop off to the 45 and flood the middle or whatever. But from free kicks, it has to be a given, because you're actually in control of the press. So it allows, and that's one thing Louth they're doing this year as well, which is interesting. They have a midfielder playing in goals. So Derry are doing it with Owen Lynch as well. So they're pushing the midfielder, they're pushing the goalkeeper up in the midfield. So they're leaving the net empty, right? And what they're doing is they're looking to maybe just squeeze another body up, which is just nearly trying to overload the opposition with numbers, and to be fair, it's been working. And what it is, and as well, it's what's the right word I'm looking for here? I'm looking for something it's nearly like an optical illusion, right? So if you look up as a goalkeeper and you see a wall of bodies from the opposition, there's a wee bit of panic, there's a wee bit of hesitation, and once you get the goalkeeper moving left, moving right, you have him. His next kick out then is just going to go long. And if you win 2 or 3 kickouts in a row, it's a momentum changing in the whole game. You can actually change the momentum of a whole game. It was only a club game on Sunday. We played a club game. It was only a club game, but we won a cup. I think from the 50th minute to the 54th minute, we won 4 of their kickouts in a row. Yeah. I think it just changed the momentum of the game. It's mad. That's a different level, etc. But the same principles still apply. If you can go and win an opposition's kick out, maybe 2 in a row, just all of a sudden changes the momentum of the game. Massive.
What's the coaching? What's the coaching mindset with that, Stevie? Though, I'm trying to see it from their point of view. Obviously, look at you mentioned Mayo there.
I'll give you Saturday night. Look at Saturday night. Look at Saturday night when Roscommon played Kerry, right? The football that Kerry played in the first 10 minutes was sensational. Absolutely sensational. 1-3 to not up, right? And Roscommon had 13, 14 men behind the ball, right? And Kerry still done that to them. Do you imagine if Roscommon pressed the Kerry kick out and Kerry were leaving Clifford 1v1 inside, what would happen? And that's where Davy and McHugh's probably thinking is, look, let's stay in this game as long as we can. And give ourselves a chance.
But isn't that, maybe I'm being naive here now, Stevie, but isn't it a case that once you can stop that, right, to me, you can still press the kick out and have a balance where a guy is trying to, one of the wing backs on the weak side who's not involved in the play, or the centre back, or not everyone's going to be fucking going for that same kick out, and if it does break on the attacking side, to get back and cut out that primary ball, and then obviously that the guy that's on the ball is going to have to turn back. He's not going to get that quick ball off, and then it just happens naturally, or the players filter back. Then once you can stop that main primary ball getting into Clifford, if you can get a sweeper back, a +1 back there straight away, it does stop that from happening. And you can still get your men back from there, but at least you're going for the game. You're trying to be positive, not this negative shit. Where I'm being negative. And Mayo, look at it. You mentioned Mayo there. So we're naive sometimes. Don't get me wrong here. There is a balance to this, but we're definitely naive from time to time with pressing too much, but and not dropping back to the 45. And that was a big factor for us, and we needed to learn from that, but we didn't. But I still think if teams are really going for it in terms of if they want to be bridging that gap, and they want to move up the levels, whatever it is, you have to be positive here. You can't be fucking negative all the time here.
Yeah, no, listen, I think you're completely spot on, and look, the bottom line is as well, without David Moran, Kerry probably don't have that massive presence in the middle of the field. Now Kerry's midfield for me is a midfield you can maybe get after Enda. It's a midfield, and they're probably having they've tried a few people in there now at this stage, and they're probably having a bit of an issue at the minute in the middle of the field. So it is something that you probably would have said to that it's an area that maybe Roscommon could have got a joy in. And actually, in fact, in the second half, when Roscommon had a chase the game and did push up, they got a lot more joy off Kerry, the Kerry kick out, and put Kerry under a lot more duress and a lot more pressure. Because look, the old adage is very, very straightforward. Pressure creates panic. So
Yes.
where do you want panic? You want panic in their half of the field, not your half of the field, but as you say, it's probably trying to find and the balance, that balance, somewhere in between, not too defensive, but yet not too gung-ho. And that's what you say about county there. I think if Mayo are just to find a little bit more balance in that, I don't think they're too far away, but I do think they're working towards that. I do think they're working towards that.
No, I do think that. Look, there's positive signs. I actually think that's probably going to be Mayo's starting 15 for championship. That went out against Donegal there. Like they still have obviously Killian and Tommy Conroy to come in off the bench. Paul Towie is another good player. They've a good squad there now. There's 5-6 players chomping at the bit to get in there. And I think
Tommy Conroy seemed to be moving well when he came on there. He seemed to be moving.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's a good player, Stevie.
He has transition a few times outstanding,
man.
He's coming back hungry. That's a big thing too. He's coming back really, really hungry. But Ryan O'Donoghue's developing into a really top class forward. He is a top class forward, but you're talking about a really, really, really top 5 forward in the country at the minute.
His decision making, Stephen, is very, very impressive. His decision, even the way he took the goal, he likes to do that little jink before he takes the goal. He did it against Kerry, but the defenders and Aaron seem to be falling for it. But he's still finding the net. So it's it's taken them boys probably 3 years since what they're in there. 2020 now. 19 was the last of my kind of era with that team. James turned it over. He's seen enough. Dublin gave them a good hockey in that 2019 semi-final, and he said, that's it, boys and girls, the show's over. And he transitioned the team, and he transitioned it very quickly. So then, boys, it's taken 2-3 years for them boys. It takes, to me, unless you're a generational talent, I've said this before, you're not going to be a really good senior footballer, especially in inter-county, until the age of 22, 23. That's when you're physically, you can see Clifford, the difference between Clifford at 19 to 23 now is huge. Yeah. The physical development, man, is huge. Massive. So that takes time. And Mayo, they'll be thereabouts. I still think, obviously, we're on about last week with Dublin and Kerry. I still think Galway are they're a dark horse. They're moving quietly, and they could be looking, if they win on this weekend, they'll be into a league final with Mayo as well. So I still think they're the 4 teams with Derry as well. That's 5 teams. I still, as you said before, I still think Derry are lacking the firepower, but I think it's between them 4 teams who are really gonna push this year for success. So, but the thing is, maybe. Go on.
Sorry. No, I was going to say it's interesting you talk about it just before it goes out of my head. It's interesting you talk about the physical development, of a player. This is an interesting one. This is a theory that I would have as well. And I look at I sort of take us from professional sport as well. Most professional sports, the development league is the under-23 league. Right, it's a development league, and this is something that Anthony Cunningham would have been a big advocate of, an under-23 development squad. And for me, keep your minors, your under-18s, keep your under-18s, your minors. Okay, that's fine, because that there's still a real historical mystique about minors and representing the county at minor level. But then leave them and have an under-23 development squad, where, because the under-21 competition for me is a bit of a farce, right? Because it's now run, the under-21 competition was meant to be run now next week, right? Down play Tyrone next Wednesday night. You've got 2 or 3 Tyrone players involved in a must-win game on Sunday that are going to be playing next Wednesday night. They're going to be asked to play 2 games in 3 days. Down, we're going to be faced with a situation where if they needed to be promoted this weekend, their best player at senior level, Owen Murdoch, who's a Rolls Royce of a footballer, brilliant footballer, Orange midfield for down senior, but midfield for down in the 20s. So he would have been asked to play 2 massive games in 3 days, right? Yeah. You've got the Sigerson involved as well. You've got their colleges as well at the same time. The under-23 development league, and take away, this must be an element at under-21 level. Have an under-23 development squad run later in the year, and on a basis where they're developing players to play senior inter-county football, because as you rightly said, there is some difference when you come on. You need to be exceptional at 19 or 20, exceptionally physically strong,
genetically, Stephen,
unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable. Particularly the way the game's going now.
You name the boys in the last 10, 20 years, and especially the last 10, 15 years. You name the boys that came straight out of minor. I can only name a handful. You're talking Aidan O'Shea, Michael Murphy, and you're talking David Clifford, Shawnee O'Shea as well. all four generational talents. Who else? There's probably a couple more. Probably a couple more I can't think of here. But they're the four off the top of my head.
Well,
And
I can think. I can think of a handful. And I'm only thinking in Ulster like a handful. The likes of Paddy McBurdy, Benny Coulter.
Paddy
There's very there's very few that you could probably sort of say, did just come straight out and went straight into senior football. Maybe the smaller counties because they needed them. Maybe the smaller counties because they needed them, but not so much your top 16 counties. Like very, very far from it. Like, so look at that awfully under 21 team or under 20 team that won the All Ireland last year. None of them made the breakthrough. Roscommon that were beating the final, none of them made the breakthrough. It's only really this year when they're 21, 22 that they're starting to be integrated. And you're only talking about 2 or 3 of them being integrated.
Yeah. No, it's huge. It's huge. So we call it here. Who's gonna get to the league final with Mayo, and who's gonna get relegated?
This sounds mad, right? But Paul Conroy, I think, had an article in the paper today, and I agree totally with him, right? Where he says, there's no Division 1 league medals in this room, right? He says there's no Division 1 league medals in this room. He says, so we can't turn down the opportunity, to win a league. And he's probably right. But the mad thing that I'm going to say is, how many counties actually want to be in a league final? This is the mad thing, because they're sort of looking, thinking,
Mayo don't.
You know what I mean? And you're sort of thinking to yourself, is there a wee bit of like, nearly, right, okay, momentum's huge, it's brilliant, but then you're sort of sacrificing another week of, preparation and training or whatever, because the way inter-county level is now, and I know from speaking to people that would have been close to the Dublin camp, back in the heyday, everything that they did was tapered and tailored towards August, September, right? Everything was tapered and tailored. So, even like Leinster just got in the way. Leinster Championship just got in the way. So you might have seen them produce a just okay performance in Leinster and still win by 12 points. But they might have been in a heavy training load week that week. You know what I mean?
Right.
You wouldn't know what they were doing or whatever. So, I think a lot of counties now will have looked at their calendar and said, right, heavy load, download week. And that's the way sports science controls everything. Now, I know there's agents out there that don't believe in sports science or whatever, that's fine. Like, but ultimately at the end of the day, you have to follow sports science. Like, you have to look at recovery. You have to look at peaking. You have to look at troughs. You have to look at all those things when it comes, especially at that level now. At that level now, it's a professional setup, and it's a really, really high performance. It's a high performance environment that they're all in. And that's the important thing to remember is that a lot of counties will be looking at their championship date. Right, we're safe in Division 1. Now we can plan the next month. And that's the way we're going to go.
If you're in Kevin McStay's shoes, Stevie, what would you do here in terms of with the league final so close to Roscommon here? He's trying to put it back to the Saturday a day earlier. I don't know, has it gone through or have they agreed on that yet? But
the only thing about it is, if the league ends this weekend, right? Most counties next weekend, the week before the championship, are going to do one of two things. They're going to probably play a challenge match, or they're going to play an in-house game.
Yeah.
More likely an in-house game and training and working patterns and stuff. So really and truly, another game is it going to really do them any harm? Another game, it's probably not going to do them any harm. But one thing that might work in national finals is something that I have sort of said, like particularly with the way the calendar is at the minute, like maybe unlimited substitutions. Unlimited substitutions, or maybe the opportunity to use 8 to 10 substitute, whatever. Increase the number of substitutions. They tried that in the McKenna Cup, right? They tried that in the McKenna Cup this year, and it was a big success because a lot of teams now, some teams abused it towards the tail end of games where from the 60th minute to the 70th minute there's maybe 7 substitutions made. When you're killing time and you're looking at time game managed, like obviously every cynic in the country will find a way to abuse the rules, like but the thing about it is, at least then you would be able to make those multiple changes. You could play a really, really strong team in the first half and then roll boys. But look, I would say, Enda, deep down, and you probably know this yourself, like winning, like losing becomes a habit. And if McStay wins a league title, momentum, it's hard to beat. Confidence, morale, players are together that night for a post-match meal. It's more time together as a group, more cohesion. Hard to beat. Hard to beat.
No, I'd be interested. Look, I don't know what I don't have the right answer here. I don't know what the right answer is here, but like, I'd be just very interested to see what he does, how he juggles that, or how he balances the squad. I think you're right. I think the Monaghan game this year, or this week, should I say, he'll change the team. If I was him, I'd put out the second team and really give the squad a run out here. I'd definitely make 10 changes anyway to the team. Because, they're obviously, it's fairly intense the last 7-8 weeks. So, we're only about 3 weeks from championship here. Am I right in saying they have obviously a league game this week, and then it's a week off, and then the league final, and then for Mayo it's the championship the next week after that. So it's only 3 weeks of championship here.
No, is it not? It's consecutive weeks. So you have So you have the last round of league fixtures, then you have the league final, and then you have the first round of the championship. So
that's heavy now, Stevie. That's heavy, man. Like I know you're saying the games, but there is a difference from an emotional kind of adrenaline standpoint. Going through obviously in Croke Park is a big occasion, and an in-house game. It's there is a bit of a difference, and the squad obviously you're getting your patterns of play. You're preparing for Roscommon the way they play. Go on, sorry.
You just mentioned something there, Croke Park. Nobody will turn down an opportunity to get an extra game at Croke Park, because even for some of the younger lads in the squad or whatever who maybe haven't played there on multiple occasions or whatever, it's another game. Get used to the surroundings, used to the environment. Look, lads, we're going to be back here in a couple of months' time for a big one. So let's get used to the preparation time. Let's get used to the pitch. Let's get used to this and that. So interesting.
It'll be. Sorry, I just had to plug in the old charger there. No, it will be interesting, TV. It'll be. Look, at my last thing I wanted to discuss was the Meath and Dublin kind of Meath's kind of form lately. Obviously, O'Rourke is taking a lot of flack here. What's your opinion on it, or any what do you think, basically?
Look, I just think the irony of the whole situation is quite funny. It's quite amusing for me, because I used to sit and listen to that man berate the likes of Mickey Hart, berate the likes of Rory Gallagher, and those coaches just absolutely schooled him like a wee schoolboy this year. It was embarrassing. No, but it was embarrassing the way his team was set up. And I'm not going to lie, like it doesn't wash for me, this whole thing about the average age of the Meath team is younger than anybody in the league. Well, if that's the case, if the average age of the Meath team is younger than any other team in the league, it's even more of a reason to give those young players a bit of direction, a bit of protection, and have some sort of form of defensive setup there where they can actually be competitive in games. If that team is young, there's not one lad in that team is going to believe that Colin O'Rourke's way is the right way. Not one lad in that squad is going to believe that the way he wants to set teams up is the right way to play football. The naivety of that performance, and I wouldn't even say naivety, and I'm just going to be bluntly honest, it's just pure ignorance. That's all it is. It's ignorance, but that's what it is, It's just ignorance, this is the way I play football. We're going to kick the ball, and that's it. And that's just pure ignorance on his behalf, and the whole state principle power thing, and that's all it is, So that's all it is, and stubbornness, ignorance, whatever you want to call it. People say naivety. It's not naivety, it's probably stupidity. That's what it is, because to think that you're going to set a team up like the way he set that team up, I feel sorry for those young lads in Meath. I really feel sorry for them. That's tell you God's honest truth. I feel sorry for them, because to set a team up like that and send them out to play football like that, it's embarrassing. What Dublin done to them the other day was crazy.
You could see as the weeks have gone on, though, Stevie, their confidence level have dwindled in terms of, I know myself, in 2010, just give you an example. In 2010, obviously, we lost to Longford in the qualifier, and then within a year, we're in the Northern Ireland semi-final, and that's the squad didn't turn over here. So it's amazing what leadership at the top or a management can do to a squad of players here. And I just think maybe the belief, they're kind of O'Rourke was in the first couple of weeks were going well, and then obviously they hit a bump in the road with Jerry and the way they're being set up, going man to man. There seems to be, the messages, what's Meath's patterns of play here? What's their style of play? It seems to me it's just going man to man. I will say just the little things that Dublin, the skill set of Dublin compared to Meath in terms of just the hand simple hand pass going to chest or going to the stomach. There was a play, and I just thought it summed it up so well, where Dublin went the length of the pitch and literally took, I think it was 3 plays. It was a kick pass. Murtha did a kick pass across the pitch. Literally, a man didn't break stride. Another kick pass up the line. and literally a hand pass and it was over the bar. But all the little things, the basics, and people, I think people underestimate this, and they don't realize how important it is. People say, "Oh, Gaelic football is a very simple game." It's a very simple game. We can kick the ball with both feet and hand pass the ball with both hands as well to a very high level and execute it at high bloody pace. And Meath, it should show on the last day that Meath are behind in that, and it's going to take time for them to really, like. Do you ever notice, just from my own time playing, Stephen, like, so, like, in training sessions, like, the running, we'll say, and running, don't get me wrong, condition is so important, but sometimes I feel like, players get more up for the running because they know it's going to be a fucking pain in the hole. But then a simple hand passing drill or kick passing drill, the focus is gone because, we're going to take our little break here. It's going to, a bit of a rest time here. And that fucking focus should be even more with that because the basic fucking skills of the game.
Yeah, even high. Yeah, no, I've said that many a time coaching, and I've said, like, if I got you boys to stand on that end line and run from that end line to that end line, it would be done at the highest tempo, maximum effort, great industry, great energy, great application. Simple hand passing drill can be loose, it can be lethargic, it can be sloppy. No. Listen, I think it's a huge part, and I think probably it's one of the things that obviously going back to McGuinness. Actually, it's one of the things that sort of would come out from the down camp is that the whole big thing about his application of his skills and the intensity of his of the drills and stuff. He's not really a massive believer in the whole condition game things or whatever. He's not really into the whole games based thing. It's about performing the skills at a very, very high level, a very, very high pace, very high tempo, and moving the ball with great pace and authority, and stuff like that. So look, as I say, yes, and that's a big part of me as well. But at the same time, even more so if you don't have the skill set and you don't have the level that you're at, don't go out and try and play at that level. Don't go out a style of football that you just simply cannot play, like, and that's the bottom. But am I right in saying, like, and maybe I'm wrong, like, but like Meath were never associated with this swashbuckling football. Like, Meath were always associated with dogged determinists, great defenders, really aggressive defending. Probably maybe in Column's era it was borderline, like, assault at times, like, but the fact of the matter was, like, they were always a hardy team to play against. Meath football was always renowned for that, like. So I don't know where this sort of Disneyland stuff that he's thinking about playing is coming from, like, because it's not going to happen. And he's probably lucky this year that Limerick were in the division, because them and Kildare could easily be in a relegation battle. And
it'll be interesting to see, as we were saying around the show, we'll finish up now, but, like, obviously the Limerick, Ray Dempsey and Paddy Carr have gone already, and the floodgates could be opening up here. Like, I still like Cullum and Glenn Ryan, two obviously famous players, or massive service to the county. They'll obviously they'll finish out the year here, but even your reputation will only go so far as a player. If you're not producing the results at senior level, well, then players will soon get disillusioned, and a squad of 30 players can see it. It doesn't take long for them to see it. If they don't see you can take them to a place where they see themselves going here, well, you're not going to last long, in my opinion, anyway.
And do you know what the other problem we have now with society in general is? This is contradictory, because me and you sitting on it right now. This platform, social media, media is such a powerful tool now. The whole Paddy Carr thing, right, back in the day, there would have been a wee bit of talk about it in the local paper, and it would have been buried, and Paddy would have seen the season out, no issue. Now you have all sorts of boys, meerkats popping up everywhere with their heads, having their opinion. Every that's what somebody said to me, about Twitter. Every arsehole has an opinion now, and that's the thing now. They do, like, everyone's got an opinion now, and it's all about, momentum. So all the talk yesterday was a Donegal. It has been for a few weeks. Caro Kane stirred the old shite as well with his article in the Irish News and behind the scenes look. And, like, let's be honest as well, like, when you cut back between it all, like, Paddy Carr and these guys, like, they're all humans. They've all got families. They've all got home lives. It's a massive. I'll tell you this now, and personally, from my own personal experience, like, and as I said at the start of the show, I'm not talking about a pyramid. See that whole abuse I got off of Rourke and Cantwell and Spillane for that time it was coming. like it affected me massively personally. Like, you know, it added into my personal life where my own girls were affected, my daughters were affected. You know, they could see my mood. Like, you know, it was just like your whole self-esteem. You started to doubt yourself. Then you take a step back and you go, hang on a second here. Like, why are you worried about the opinions of these guys? Like, you know, when they know next to nothing about football, like, you know, really and truly, like next to nothing about coaching, like, you know, they were illustrious players. Absolutely, their playing credentials are immortal. They're immortal. You know, no one can take their playing credentials away from them. But playing and coaching are two different things. Playing, you're delivering a pass. In coaching, you're delivering a message. Coaching's about building relationships. You know, it's about building relationships. It's about getting the best out of people. Like, you know, people forget that. You see, you know, people think because you could kick a ball over the bar from 45 yards, that all of a sudden makes you a good coach. It doesn't necessarily make you a good coach, you know. I wasn't that bad a player either, and by the way, just in case you think but on a serious note, like, you know, I just think sometimes we forget that there's a person behind the coach, you know, and that's something to remember as well, you know, particularly when the wolves are circling and the vultures are circling, you know, and they're all ready to, you know, for the bait. Like, it's important to remember that these people have home lives and stuff too, like, you know.
Look, as we'll finish on this now, but like it'll be interesting, as you said there. Like intercounty management. It's a tough gig. It's a tough gig
Oh,
here, and
yeah,
Donegal struggled to fill that vacancy. That vacancy was open
yeah.
for a couple of months here. So it's like
Well,
if
and a
this
lot of
is,
counties did, and a lot
huh?
of counties did, a lot of counties
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah,
like, you know, I'll be honest. Like, I said this to you a couple of weeks ago, like on the show. Like, you know, I had I had a number of offers myself to obviously to get back involved in inter-county level football. Like, and to be honest with you, like, I couldn't see myself doing it again, Andy. You know, for the commitment that
yeah.
was involved, you know, the dedication that was involved, you know, the scrutiny. The scrutiny is the big thing for me. Like, the scrutiny that you're under now is absolutely mammoth. Like, everything you do, you know, from the social media to the local press to the national press to national TV,
Davy, remember that Davy Byrne celebrating too much after the third round. Who did they win? Who did they beat again?
oh God, like, well, put
Yeah,
it like
yeah, yeah,
this: that win was probably the win that kept them in Division One. So why
yeah,
not celebrate? Why
yeah, yeah,
not
yeah. Well,
celebrate?
exactly,
You know,
exactly.
look
Look
here,
at
listen. Davey's going
yeah,
well, but sure, it's only a matter of time before someone's giving off about him somewhere. Like, you know, that's the
I
thing.
know.
Like, you know.
Look at we'll leave it at that. I'll talk to you next week about it, and we'll leave it there. Good chat, man.
Great to
Good
chat with
chat.
you. Look after yourself,
Cheers,
big
Davy.
man. Yeah,
Bye,
bye.
bye,
Good
bye.
luck. Good luck.